Shalom, giving all praises honor and glory to our power Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Hakadash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and maybe you may be, wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Yahshua, Shalom. All right, we're going to get into another AI chat. It's kind of, it's really based off the last one that we went into. Which I mentioned is one company, Paradromics, or I was going to say the name again. I just saw it. I still can't remember it. But I think it's Paradromics. Just another random company who deals with these C-hip devices. All right, the ones dealing with the brain. Based on what the beloved John the Revelator saw in Revelation chapter 13. Okay, in particular verse 16, because that's the one that mentions not only the C-hip, for the hand, or the body or whatever, but also that same scripture is the verse that mentions the one for the forehead. All right, Savior had the mark of the beast of the number of his name, all right, in his hand or in his forehead. Okay, and so we went into a little AI chat yesterday, and this video, I actually mentioned this little 10-minute video here because I think the one we went into yesterday was like 15-16 minutes, and I mentioned this little 10-minute video, but because we had pretty much gone long enough with the other one. We didn't go into this one. This one is only 10 minutes long, but it actually also mentions that company from yesterday. As you see Neuralink on the screen here, this is the one that's run by Elon Musk. And then it's going to mention Paradromics. All right, the one that was mentioned in yesterday's video. And as we always go into 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we're not ignorant of his devices. Okay, and getting an advantage of us, he gets the one up and pulls the wool over your eyes. All right, which goes along with ignorant, because ignorant means to not know. All right, and Satan is the one who's pulling these things off. When it says Satan, it's actually talking about a race of people, which are the bankers. All right, and his devices. Well, let's just push the button.
Elon Musk's Neuralink has some new competition from a rival brain chip company who claims that their device is not only safer and easier to implant, but also offers 20 times higher performance than what Neuralink has already demonstrated. Now, if they're right, then this would be a pretty big deal, but as with all things involving the brain and biotechnology, the truth can be complicated.
Now, they're saying this company can perform 20 times better than Elon Musk's company. How true that is or not don't really matter to me. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter who creates this technology, as long as the prophecy is fulfilled. I mean, well, you have several companies creating it, but I mean, like, whoever, however, because for all we know, they could have multiple companies issuing some brain device, at whatever point, because the important one is actually the one that goes into the hand. All right, not the brain. The brain devices are just a part of what's going on, but the one that matters is the C-hip, the one that's to go into the hand, because that is what's supposed to be linked to pretty much people's lives, all right? Their bank accounts, because the currency will be digital, their medical history, and all sorts of other kinds of records, their identity, biometric identity, all right? Because this is how they're going to identify everybody through that device, okay? Not going to have a use for cell phones and things of that nature anymore, because everything will be inside you by way of the C-hip, the device. All right.
It's now been over a year and a half since Elon Musk's brain implant startup performed their first human surgery, and in that time, they've expanded their trial study to include at least 12 people in the United States.
Now, as of yesterday, I believe it was 20, and that they're trying to also begin. I forget exactly how they worded it, but we'll just say it the best way I can explain it. Worldwide testing, or preparing it. To go worldwide. All right. So yeah, that's just that's where they are right now. All right, that's the avenue they're on. All right, scripture speak about how knowledge shall increase, and it's pretty much Esau has increased in his knowledge of how things work in this universe, the human body, and things of that nature, which is why he's able to create things like this in the first place. All right, and it's under the guise of actually helping people when it's they can really care less. All right, it's really just about controlling the people. All right, making them fall into that snare, the trap. All right, I think the scripture that mentions something about a snare. Let me see if I can pull up. Let's see what comes up if I punch in snare real quick. So we didn't really get into the video, and it's short. It's 10 minutes. Let's see what comes up if I type in snare. See if it'll give us something good. Because everything that Esau is feeding the people is nothing but a snare. It's a trap. All right. Actually, I know a scripture that we could probably get on that. Snare. Okay, snare. Deuteronomy. Judges. As a matter of fact, I should have put the. Oh, hold on. It jumped to the Psalms pretty quick. Job 18:8. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. The gin shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. Yeah, because ultimately at the end of the day, Yahushua is coming, right? That's why the scripture liken him to a thief, because it talks about how he's going to come like a thief in the night, because he doesn't even know when he's coming back, but he's definitely coming back. Let me read that again. Let me go up real quick. See, start going to the end of Esau and really expect to get these verses. But we're gonna read them now anyways. Yeah, the light of the wicked shall be put out. Now, who's the wicked? Esau, Edom, Job, 9:24. The earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. And to back that up, you can go to Malachi 1. Okay, starting from the top, get down, and it'll say, Jacob I have loved, Esau I have hated. And in verse 4, it eventually is called Esau the border of wickedness. All right, so telling you exactly who the wicked is. All right, so yeah, so the wicked are talking about these elites in particular, because all the Edomites they're all devils, but the main enemy are the elites, though. All right, so the light of the wicked shall be put out, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. Okay, because they have a wicked light. The what is the Illuminati, right? Yeah, the Illuminati. They think they're the keepers of, well, they are keepers of a light. It's just a wicked dark light. Okay. There's secret societies and things of that nature. But anyways, is the light shall be dark in his tabernacle, and his candle shall be put out with him. Okay. And often, sometimes the Bible will talk about, tabernacle, and it's talking about the human body. But nonetheless, that's what's going to happen to Esau. Okay. Well, save for those, top elites. They're going to go into the bunkers. They're going to get pulled out of the bunkers. They're going to be the first slaves. All right. But after 1,000 years, that light will be put out. All right. Them and their wickedness will be put out permanently after 1,000 years. Not Job, but Obadiah 1:18. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. And that's what's happening right now. See, what Esau doesn't understand, because he's communing with the left hand side, but he thinks he's really doing something that's away and against the Lord. Well, I mean, it is against the Lord, but what I'm saying is he thinks that he's operating independently, so to speak. But really, he's not. He's doing exactly what the Lord created him to do. Was his task. This was his purpose. Okay, like Agent Smith in the Matrix. Okay, he kept talking about purpose. Well, this is Esau's purpose, to do the things that he's doing because he was made to be wicked, and these things lead to him being destroyed at the end. That's what happened to Smith. He got destroyed by Neo at the end. Okay, for he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. The jinn shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. The snare is laid for him in the ground, and a trap for him in the way. Terror shall make him afraid on every side, and shall drive him to his feet. His strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. Because all this that he's doing, he is doing, because there are some people actually that have the see-hit devices, all right, like Sweden, okay, and there's people obviously who have these brain devices, because these are, the guinea pigs, all right, like I always used to reference that Venom movie, the first one, okay, where they were grabbing the homeless people off the streets, offering them money, which really he knew they were going to die. He was just looking for hoping he could find one person that the uh, uh the symbiote could host into the body, or the body could host the symbiote. But he was taking them up off the street, giving them money. The symbiote go into their body, and they can't host it, and so the symbiote will come back out, but they die. Okay. But anyways, his strength shall be hunger bitten, and destruction shall be ready at his side. It shall devour the strength of his skin, even the firstborn of death shall devour his strength. All right, let me go back though, because I almost forgot. I was, kind of looking through some verses there. That was good right there. I'm glad we read it, because like as I was saying, all these traps that he's laying for the people, and he doesn't know he's running into the ultimate trap, the downfall of his kingdom, him no longer being in power, and then eventually the destruction of all of him and all of his people. There's another one that we just read, I believe. Psalm 69:22. Let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. All pretty good verses here. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler, and from the noise of the pestilence, going to the missiles. Well, that's what we hope for, deliverance. Psalms 119 and 110. The wicked have laid a snare for me, yet I erred not from thy precepts. Let's get the word snare real quick, since we're going through all these snares, right? Pa or pach. Bird trap. Trap, yeah. See? Because what's that in Psalms 91? It mentions the snare of the fowler, or a fowler catches birds, because a fowl is a bird, not FOUL, like a foul ball on a baseball play or something, but FOWL. All right, fowl, a bird. Okay, or fowler would be a bird trapper or a catcher or whatever. All right, bird trap, and it's liking Esau to a fowler. Okay, and we to a fowl. Bird trap, trap, snare. Bird trap, literal of calamities, plots, source, or agent of calamity. All right. Yeah. Here's another one. Look, Psalms 124. Our soul is escaped as a bird out of a snare. There you go, of the fowlers. The snare is broken and we are escaped. The proud have hid a snare for me and cords. They have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me, Selah. Psalms 140 and 5. Psalms 142 and 3. When my spirit was overwhelmed within me, then thou knewest my path, and the way wherein I walked. Have they privily, secretly laid a snare for me? Beautiful scriptures, man. To the dark. Wow. A fool's mouth is destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. A lot of scriptures here. Yeah, that's a good verse there. Ecclesiastes 9:12. But I'm probably about to go back. I'll read it though. For men also know it not his time, as the fishes that are taken in the evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare. So are the sons of men snared in the evil time when it falls suddenly upon them. And as I was mentioned before, you know, all these traps that Esau is setting for the world, it's meant for him to do so. All right, and it's meant for these people to fall into these traps. But ultimately, all right, things are gonna play itself out by Esau, being snared by the Lord. All right, because that's his ultimate judgment for that to happen, anyways. Okay, so let me see here. That's a good one there. Yeah, so many verses, man. What was that, Amos? Let me see what Amos says here. Okay. So yeah, that was the end anyways. All right, cool. There's probably some more verses in there that I probably skipped over, but I want to get back. I was just curious. Okay, I want to get back to the video though. Get back on point. So, but we did make a good point though, man, because what this, what Esau's doing with this whole system here is a snare for the people. It's a trap for the people. Because he ultimately wants to get everybody under his under his permanent rulership by microchipping people. All right, and that was the main point there. But we're talking about the brain chips though, which are part of this, because even if you don't take the one in your hand, which to me, if you take the one in your brain, these people would definitely take the one in their hand. But just to make the point, even if you took the one for the body and not the hand, okay, I mean one for the brain and not the hand, you're still gonna be destroyed, because the Lord commanded you not to take this man's devices, man. Okay, he commanded us to not make any cutters in our flesh. And that's what Esau has to do in order to get this inside of us. So there has to be a conscious decision made, and that conscious decision will be, flat out to deny the Lord. All right, forsake the Lord. Okay, and that's what we don't want to happen. All right, we constantly pray to the Lord that He keep His Spirit on us, so we can. And when we get to that point, we can deny. Which, there's not many of us that actually would ever have a use for a brain chip. But when it comes down to eating and stuff like that, that's what Esau's going to try to put the pressure on us. But that's where all of our knowledge and wisdom and understanding kicks in now, so that we could be stable in those times and not make that stupid mistake. Okay? Where the Lord will be dealing with you, okay, and have you actually deny, all right, that device. All right, but let's keep going.
They've expanded their trial study to include at least 12 people in the United States and Canada. This tells us that the Neuralink implant and its associated robotic surgery are safe and effective, in the relatively short term at least. The first Neuralink patient, Nolan, is still alive and well and enjoying a significantly better quality of life with his implant, which allows him to interface wirelessly with computers and smartphones to regain many of the abilities that he lost after experiencing a spinal cord injury that left him paralyzed from the neck down. To accomplish this, Neuralink first cut back a flap of Nolan's skin, drilled out a circular hole in his skull, and removed the circle of bone. Then they bring a surgical robot that works kind of like a very high-tech sewing machine that places ultra-fine electrode-tipped wires into the outer layer of brain tissue.
And every company has their own way of, achieving this particular goal here, fitting the person with the device.
Known as the cortex. These wires are made from a polymer material which is essentially plastic but has a molecular structure that mimics natural material in the body like protein and DNA. Once the threads are in place, the Neuralink device is put into the hole and screwed down into the skull. Then they fold back the skin flap and sew up the patient. Now, as far as invasive brain surgery goes, it's definitely not the worst, but it does unfortunately leave the person with another hole in their head and a small computer attached to their skull. And that's how Neuralink has established themselves as the world leader in modern brain-computer interface technology. But there is a new company on the scene that says they can do it better. That's Austin, Texas-based Paradromics. They're not actually that new. The company was first established in 2015, 1 year before Elon Musk announced Neuralink, and in November 2025, Paradromics has received their first FDA approval for human trials in the USA. And while Musk has tried to position...
So you heard him say it right there, just like Neuralink. Okay.
Paradromics has received their first FDA approval for human trials in the USA.
Yep, their first FDA approval for human trials in the USA. And I forget this guy's name that was mentioned yesterday, but he was supposedly very important to the project, or at least Neuralink, that is, with getting over certain hurdles and stepping stones, all right? And they were also FDA approved. Food and Drug Administration, of all things, right?
And while Musk has tried to position Neuralink as the answer to all problems, the future of communication, a replacement for computers and smartphones, the cure for all diseases, and eventually a way to merge the human mind with artificial intelligence and transform all people into immortal robots, Paradromics is a little more focused on medical applications. Right now, they are aiming to help paralyzed patients regain speech and computer control capabilities, allowing people to communicate either through text or synthesized voice, which is mostly the exact same thing that Neuralink has been doing with their own human trials. While Neuralink started off testing their implants in monkeys and pigs, Paradromics has been running a large-scale animal test using sheep.
Yeah, so starting off testing with monkeys and pigs, but also Paradromics in particular are using sheep. Okay, and as all these companies, because I mean that's the main driving point. They go in testing areas of I don't even know how to call it. I guess disabilities or whatever the case may be. I guess just call it as it is. I mean, I don't know what else, how else to really get the point across. All right, but I mean, this is what fuels their companies. Okay, so they go in and target a specific area. All right, maybe the person's blind, and so they target that area. They can't walk, ALS, that comes up a lot. All right, whatever area they target, and then they make the progress through neurological studies. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what to call it, but you get the point, because that's what they're studying, your neural pathways and your nervous system and electrical signals and all these different things, and they're using their computers and their technology to figure out how these things work. How can we do this? How can we do that? Put it into a device. All right, you get the whole process.
Now, their implant is a little different. For one,
Oh, but yeah, but as we mentioned yesterday with Neuralink, they actually never perfected their device when they were testing on the monkeys, but they got their approval to go ahead on people. And then I believe that was over last year, or it might have been the year before last. I can't really remember. Anyways, whenever it happened, all right, and then they just started skyrocketing with patients. Okay, and they jumped up a lot of numbers in a single year, to the point where they're saying it's 20, and not only that, now they're trying to go worldwide. Okay, because they're ready, prepare the people, all right, to try to market this thing to the people.
it's much Now, their implant is a little different. For one, it's much smaller than a Neuralink N1, and for two, you'll notice that instead of long, flexible threads, Paradromics uses a little round bed of tiny nails. These get punched into the surface of the brain by a spring-loaded applicator. The Tesla space just got a massive upgrade, and we are running a Black Friday offer that we've never done before.
Oh boy. Try not to skip the video. They smooth with them ads and stuff. They just transition and start talking about it. Taxi. Okay, I think we're about to get back into it.
So to install this device, you only need to make a small hole in the skull, and then instead of removing the disc of bone and replacing it with a computer, Paradromics users would get to keep most of their skull intact with only a small hole to run the wire out of the chip. The chip itself is made with a titanium body, which is a non-reactive metal, and the 400 electrode pins are made from a platinum iridium alloy, which is the same metal that's been used to connect pacemakers with the heart. The wire running out of the chip remains underneath the skin and connects with a transmitter implanted inside the person's chest cavity, which then connects wirelessly to an external device that powers the entire system and relays data from the implant to a computer, which uses AI to translate brainwaves into computer actions. Paradromics calls their first product Connexus, and they make the claim that this is the first high data rate BCI designed to deliver high performance for the user, which would insinuate that they do not consider Neuralink to be a high performance chip. Of course, Elon Musk would refute that claim, and I'm sure his Grok chatbot would fully back him up. So, who's right, who's wrong, and what does any of this even mean? Well, let's talk about data rates, also known as bit rate. It's basically just a measurement of how much signal can be transmitted from the brain to the computer. Regardless of whether you're using tiny nails or tiny wires, the point of sticking stuff into a person's brain is to get your electrode sensors as close to the physical neurons inside the brain matter as possible. We can think of the brain essentially as a ball of soggy electric meat. The electricity is what controls your bodily functions, and the source of the electric signal comes down to these weird cells in your brain called neurons. Now, using brain-computer interface, we've been able to start associating different body functions with specific patterns of neuron activity. This is how we begin to decode the brain and translate thought into computer action. Now, of course, the brain is a much larger and more complex organ than one little bed of nails or bundle of wires could possibly reach, so the big challenge becomes trying to read the largest amount of neuron activity with the smallest physical invasion into the brain itself. We can't just crack a person's skull wide open and wire up their entire brain. So, that stream of information that we're able to send from the brain to the computer is our data rate, and we typically measure that data in bits per second. When Neuralink was doing their animal trials, like the Mind Pong monkey, they were hitting around 5 bits per second. when they started measuring the output from Nolan, their first human patient, the data rate was reaching up to 12 bits per second. Now, Paradromics is claiming that their implant has a record 200 bits per second. Outside of animal testing, Paradromics has completed one limited human trial where the chip was implanted, tested, and then immediately removed. So, based on this one set of data, it would appear as though Paradromics is performing about 20 times higher than Neuralink. But looks can be deceptive. The first thing we have to consider is that Nolan was the first attempt by Neuralink to implant a human-sized brain, and as a result, it wasn't particularly successful. Yes, Nolan is able to use his implant to do useful things, but that's in spite of the fact that about 80% of the electrodes that were originally placed into his brain have fallen out over time. Technically, that's called retraction.
Yeah, because it's it's basically wear and tear, just like what you get with a car is wear and tear. Okay, because you got the brain, which is a living tissue, it's a muscle. All right, you got things going on out there. Okay, so whatever the case, just like you ever seen like some army movie where person gets shot and they gotta operate on them right then and there, try to the like I don't know, they open them up and try to grab the I don't know, the tendon or whatever. I don't know. I'm not no no, surgeon or nothing, but you know what I'm talking about. You've seen these movies where they be trying to grab certain portions inside, and then they keep saying, "Oh, it slipped back in there. Try to grab it. I can't grab it. I can't grab it." So it's just like that. That stuff it wears. Okay, so these are the things, but these are road bumps in the road that they're trying to figure out how can we fully fix these problems so that we can fully market it and say it's. But who believe Elon Musk anyways? All right, he boasts about the Tesla cars and people got set on fire. All right, battery fires that you can't put out. All right, the power shuts down. You can't get a person in or out the car and stuff like that. All right, meanwhile he's trying to blast up rockets, playing around with what is it, Starlink, and he's got all kind of stuff going on. Okay, but anyways, yeah, so things like that are bound to happen. And so this is what they're trying to find. How can we fix these problems so we can go in and fully get it out there?
Neuralink identified many causes for this problem, and they moved to implement solutions with their following human implant procedures. Now, as far as we know, patients 2 through 12 have not experienced problems with thread retraction. We've also heard from Neuralink that they have increased the electrode density of their threads to about double the amount that were originally implanted into Nolan. The thing is that since releasing their initial results from Nolan's implant in April 2024, Neuralink has been a lot more secretive with specific data from their human trials, meaning that the data Paradromics is using to base their claims about Neuralink is coming from a user that only has about 20% of their implant actually functional and using a first-generation device that's only half as capable as what the company is currently implanting. We actually got a practical demonstration of this a few months ago when multiple Neuralink users were all together at one conference, and they demonstrated their abilities by playing some video games with their thoughts alone. Nolan was able to play Mario Kart, which is awesome, but the other Neuralink users were able to take that up a level and play a first-person shooter action game.
Which this was what part of what we showed yesterday in yesterday's video. Okay, they talked about this a little bit.
Demonstrating a higher level of control through their neural interface. Now, just using simple math and making the uneducated assumption that this all scales in a linear fashion, we multiplied 10 by 5 to get an idea of what Nolan could have achieved with a fully functioning implant, and then multiply 50 by 2 to get the output of a chip with double the amount of electrodes, and that's 100, which is still half of the 200 claimed by Paradromics, but now the difference is a lot less dramatic. And it is entirely possible that double the electrodes does not equal double the performance. This is not meant to be a direct rebuttal to Paradromics' claim, just a reminder to imply some critical thinking anytime that any company tries to tell you that their thing is better based on numbers, because numbers are pretty easy to mess around with, as we've demonstrated. Also, this is not the Hunger Games. There can be more than one company making BCI technology. In fact, there should be more than one leader in this industry.
And there are, all right. Like the main two, obviously Neuralink is one, and then the other being Synchron. Okay, And then you got other companies.
Fortunately, there are a lot of people in the world with varying forms of brain injury and disease, and they need all of the help they can get as soon as they can possibly get it. So,
And see, that's the problem with the people of the world. All right, because that's their way out. All right, or well, I mean, I guess you could say it like that, because they're looking for a solution to uh, this problem that they have in life. From, I don't know, could have been from some accident that happened. Now they're paralyzed from the neck down, or whatever the case may be. Okay, so you're not going to be able to tell them that I don't want or I don't need this device, okay? Because because your life is not you didn't go through this or whatever. You're not dealing with this and that, so you can't really tell these people that they don't. And there was one, I think it might have been yesterday. It's too late now, but I believe there was a comment board where some people said a few things up there I want to read, but it slipped my mind. But anyway, I'm just thinking about it now. But yeah, so you offer these people with something like this, and they're gonna go for it, okay? And that's why they always, you notice they always, well, not always, but sometimes they'll actually go after the elderly, all right, because there could be more needy, all right, when they gotta feed their cat or their dog or something like that, and they can't turn on the AC, flip their remote and stuff like that. But you have to understand all that comes with a lot of rewiring, okay? Because their chip would have to be able to be Bluetooth or whatever to everything, like the guy Rodney from Synchron with the ALS, to his fan. All right, it was his air conditioning system, to his dog bowl to feed his dog, TV, whatever else that he needs to use. All right, that he can't physically do himself. All right, all so yeah, so nobody talks about those things, because I'm pretty sure they're not going to be freely supplied for whoever. But the overall point is that these people see these devices, and they think that that's their way out of their problem, when really it's the Lord, who controls all lives, and everybody's life is in its perfect order. I'm not saying we all are just living in some perfect bodies and nothing like that, but nobody's life is out of line because the Lord is in control. It's just like when these churches talking about, Satan fell from heaven and took angels with him. What he talking about, right? Nothing in the heavens is out of order. Not a single thing. It's just like nothing down here is out of order. We may perceive things as to be out of order because really they are. Like when you talk about Esau being, in rulership and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is the Lord is controlling all these things. So everything is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, and going the way it's supposed to be going. All right. Isaiah 46:10, declaring the end from the beginning, saying that my counsel shall stand. All right. I'm going to do all my pleasure. You see? So nothing's out of order. And but these people don't even if even if these people say God, right? We know they're talking about God and Jesus, but they're still gonna take one of these devices, man. So I mean, you kind of get the point I was making there. All right.
more BCI companies doing more real world testing will always be better. Paradromics will be starting their first human trial.
You see, he just said it right there. Yeah, he almost slipped past me.
Thing will always get it. So, more BCI companies doing more real world testing will always be better.
There you go. See, more BCI companies doing real world testing. See, that is why these people shoot for approval from the FDA to do human testing, because animals ain't cutting it. All right, we need actual human brains to get our devices right, and that's why I call these people guinea pigs, because they are guinea pigs.
Paradromics will be starting their first human trial this year with 2 patients. Then, if that works out as expected, they will expand to a group of 10, with 2 of those people receiving 2 implants each to boost signal capturing power.
Yeah, that was something that was talked about yesterday. Rodney talked about he wants to get a second one, and he's excited about receiving a second implant. And I hope he does, and I hope that they share it so we can look into it and see what's going on with 2 devices versus 1. Okay, because if he's that excited to get 2 brain implants, then when the body device comes, all right, the one in the hand, okay, that connects you to the digital system, he's definitely going to take that.
So, in 2026, the world is going to be home to a rapidly growing population of cyborgs.
And now, I guess this video is probably not that old, because he said in 2026, and we are now currently at the top of 2026. So Maybe this video here is not as old as I might have thought it was.
A rapidly growing population of cyborgs. And this is really just the beginning.
And people aren't really going to be cyborgs like he's trying to make it sound. It's just that that going back to Dr. Evil, the fusion of man and machine. All right, the C hip. All right, the main device, the buying and selling one. Okay, and then the brain, C hip. Okay, which is to attack these problems that people have and giving this false sense of healing people. Because basically what Esau is doing, like we read yesterday in 2 Thessalonians 2. I believe, yeah, I think we read that yesterday. Okay, these are false miracles, pseudo miracles. Okay, so these are not real healings. All right, it's just him dabbling with his technology. Okay, and he doesn't really care about the people. It's just him being a so-called scientist. But yeah, this is a quicker video than yesterday. A little short one there. But Lord willing was still edifying. It was really more so to showcase that because I didn't expect Paradromics to be mentioned in this one, but they were because they were definitely mentioned yesterday. But yeah, so just a few of those companies, which Synchron. We didn't get anything on Synchron, but you have Synchron, Neuralink, Paradromics, BlackRock Neurotech, and many other companies. All right, the list goes on and on. You just have to look them up for yourself. But they're all doing the same thing. They just have their own way of doing it. Okay, so that was the other video from yesterday. I want to knock this one out the way. So we got it done. And I'm going to end it there. No need to force it. Lord, will you edify? To next thing I'm sure I'm going to say shalom.